Yo, we are back with another vehicle. So this time we got you probably, if you've watched the past couple videos, you've probably seen it in the background. Well, we have a 1978 Chevy Caprice. This one has already been swapped. The owner swapped it himself, and he brought it to me to just do some things to it that he just doesn't have the time to do. But I just want to start off with, when's the last time you saw a 1978 two-door Chevy Caprice? Just interesting body style. This window's really cool, or this back glass, how it's curved like that. I bet that's not cheap. And then look at how long this door is. That's gotta be, what, 5 feet? So you know that door glass is probably expensive. And then we got plenty of back seat room. And then, let me pop the hood. We got the Cooper Cobras. Of course they're 275 60/15s, because what other size do you get? There's no such thing as any other size. But let's get started on what I will be doing. If I can find... Oh, there it is. Oh, and of course it's a big old heavy hood. So, 5.3 with a big old cam in it, hooked up to a turbo 350. I believe, if I understood what he was saying right about this, is that this is just going to be like a street bruiser, terrify the neighbors, townsfolk, other drivers, just be a menace on the streets. He's got air shocks. He's gonna jack it up, give it that rake. He's got his CB radio. He's got shifter on the, the stand. I think he made that stand. I don't know. But what I'm doing to it is getting rid of this coolant setup. This is the factory reservoir. Oh, get your car, somebody's trying to steal it. See how long this takes to go off. All right, so where was I? So I'm putting in a factory style radiator back into it, getting rid of this, putting it has electric fans. That's what was in the box that was in the seat. I'm going to clean up the wiring, make it look better. I'm gonna mount the computer somewhere else. I'm not 100% sure where I'm gonna mount it yet. Oh, where's that negative? So, all right, sorry, I just went and got a negative cable. I didn't know there was one in it, but I'm gonna get rid of this negative cable for sure. The battery is gonna go on this side instead of this side, because we got that custom made airflow to go right into the air intake, so that works perfectly. I'll probably leave this air intake the way it is. I don't see why I need to change it, aside from moving it a little for the radiator that's going to be put in it, but there's not much to that. I'm putting in a check engine light. He just wants to put this somewhere so that his check engine light, or so that he can just know that the check engine light's on, or if it needs to be checked, whatnot. This gauge panel, I'm taking that out. So I'm taking out this piece, getting rid of that radio, and then I'm just gonna mount something flush, and those gauges stick out of that or stick onto that, whichever. Just getting rid of this in general. I don't remember if he told me what these switches are for, but. And then I feel like, oh, he's going to get the digital gauge setup that I use in all my, that I use in my personal swap, which is that scanner connected to the OBD, and then the tablet with the gauges on it. And I'm hooking up the tack, which on these Gen 3 harnesses, the tachometer wire is always this white wire. The speedometer is your black wire, I think. I don't remember, but I know tack is white. And he has a BP Automotive harness, so they label every single thing, which let me show you right here. It says tachometer, white wire. So what's that? Oh, yep, I was wrong. Speedometer is green. And then your check engine light is, oh, both of these. So this pink and brown and white wire are for your check engine light. So that makes things a lot easier. I wonder what else there is. Fan relay. I don't see. Oh, there, fuel pump, switched ignition. So this one should go to, probably run this to the fuse block. I believe this is the power wire for the fuse block for the everything to turn on. So I need to make a battery cable for the positive post. I'm going to make it because it's going to have to run from the starter all the way over here, which is exactly what I did on the Vega. And then I bought a negative cable. Just mount that negative cable to the block right there. And then before I start changing any of this, I need to put on his, he made some exhaust pipes because he wants to be nice and rowdy. Are they on that side? Yeah, they're on that side. Oh, I guess I'll just show them to you. He made those exhaust pipes. They just basically bolt up to the end of the collector and turn straight out. So that's gonna be nice and loud. And I gotta bolt those on, hook up the O2 sensors, and then I just want to get it running and see how it runs. He had the computer tuned, so I just want to make sure basically there's no engine issues before I start doing everything else, because then it's kind of pointless to do everything else if there's engine issues, which I think he's heard it. So he had it running, but it was running stupid rich because it wasn't tuned. So before he brought it to me, he went and got it tuned at Mail Order Tuner in, I think it's Troy, it's North Temple, but I think it might be Troy address. Check them out if you need a tune. But that is it as far as I can remember off the top of my head. As this video progresses and I talk to him as I do stuff, I'm sure he'll mention things that I don't remember. But I need to get the battery cable made, hook up the battery cables, hook up the exhaust pipes, and see if it starts. So we will go from there after that. So let me show you guys how I make a battery cable. Get you some 0 gauge wire. I just use dikes and cut it to get to actual wire. Might sacrifice a little wire to get the rubber off. The bare wire. I use some vice grips. These, you can get these ends at any auto parts store, and then you need this little plastic piece to melt it onto it like that, which I'll show you. But put it on there like so. Vice grips. Clamp it down. Nice and tight. Slide this over it. Just get to melting. Make sure it's all melted and not getting blown out by your AC unit over there. By AC unit, I mean my little fan that never gets a break. Make sure it's all nice and melted. That is how I make battery cables. And if you try to tell me that's the wrong way, I don't care. Because I've made many of them this way. No issues. And then this end will go on the terminal for the post on the battery. That's it. Of course, it's taking me 50 years to get these simple pipes on. And I know you're looking at that jack and saying, I hope that isn't what's holding up the car. I hope there's jack stands. There's not. I'm sorry. You're gonna tell me how dangerous that is. I'm gonna tell you that's the point. 'Cause if this takes me out, is that such a bad thing? I don't think it's that bad. I think it couldn't be better. I mean, who doesn't want to be on the hot concrete in the Texas heat, needing 5 hands, but you only got 2 and a forearm as help. That's great fun. I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. Just doing great. Nothing better in the world. We'll get it eventually. Come on. You have to use, sometimes you gotta use your Jedi mind and see by feeling, because you can't actually see the hole, because why would it be that easy? Okay, we got one. No, we don't. Oh my goodness. You tricked me. Now we have one. Just one more. 50% there. Oh, so close. We got two. Got two. Now we tighten. Back to it. Oh, don't take too long. My shoulder can't take it. And we got minimal room to take. Come on. And rest. Back to it. Come on. We're good. Now, let's route this so we're not destroying it on the header. All right, exhaust is complete. It's gonna be so loud. I love it. So we got pipes on, O2 sensors connected. I added this wire for the ignition for the fuse block. It's probably still not long enough to go all the way into the fuse block, but for now I'm just gonna stick it to the the positive cable, or the positive post on the battery. There was 2 grounds that were on the back of the harness. Usually the Amazon harnesses, they only have 1 ground. That one had 2. And given the ends that were on them, I assume they go to the back of the head. But yeah, I decided while destroying my baby arm back there, trying to get that hooked up, the ground to the back of the head, that I'm probably just going to take the whole harness off and reinstall it. These injector wires I always run under the fuel rail, and it hides them under the fuel rail. And these wires also, these extra, well, not extra, but throttle body sensors, water temp sensor, alternator plug, I run all those with the injector wires all through the underside of the fuel rail, and that big gap right there all the way back. on that. I do the same on that side too. Something for you guys to know: when you cam an engine, you have to turn this throttle blade screw. You can't see it right now. There's a little screw head under the lip of the throttle body right there. You can see the bolt right there, but you got to screw that basically all the way up. So your throttle body will sit about right there, and once the screw is all the way up, and that keeps the idle up on these drive-by cable throttle bodies. So I'm gonna need to do that before I try to start it. I just want to grab a battery, hook up the cables, hook up the ignition wire, and kind of just see what it does. I assume it turns over because he's had it running. I need to hook the computer up, but taking these throttle bodies off, it's just 3 bolts or 3 nuts, just one right there, one on that corner, one on that corner, and just pop it off. Be careful when you're screwing that in. It's a 6-point hex screw, and those things strip easily. But let's go grab a battery from the graveyard. This is Sparta. See, I did that with my leg, but I'm not good at recording, so you really didn't see it. Howdy, neighbors. You ever watch Tim the Toolman Taylor? It'd be cool if I had one of those neighbors. Still, we just got dogs that bark at me. Oh, where am I going? Yeah, so Camaro's still here. I have no idea what I'm doing with this bad boy. I need to sell it. I actually had a swap fall through, or actually well, I didn't say the swap fell through. I'm still working on it, but I'm not swapping a vehicle that's coming like I originally planned. But I would love to LS swap this, but I'm torn between doing that because obviously I'm the guy that LS swaps things for you. Oh my goodness, look at this. So, short story that's not great. Just look at all that, and it just keeps going. I accidentally built a miniature racetrack in my backyard. The ruts go all over there, all over there. Actually, we passed some on the way in. But funny, not so funny story that Miss Krusty isn't too happy about. Camaro parked right there. Truck parked behind the Camaro over there. This truck parked right here. Same spot. That Camaro, I tried to get it out. It got stuck all right here. Me thinking, all right, no problem. Old Chevy, not automatic, all-time 4-wheel drive. Put that bad boy in low and let her go. Well, you can have all the 4-wheel drive in the world, but if you got bald tires, it ain't happening. So that gets stuck behind the Camaro back there. I'm like, all right, you're up. This one has a 318 that pukes oil out of the spark plug hole. Still runs, but pukes oil out of the spark plug hole. So we got Chevy stuck, Camaro stuck. Our last hope is the old Dodge. So I try to pull the Camaro out this way, as where the Chevy, I try to pull it out that way, or that way, because I need to go outside to the gate. So I'm pulling it from the front, I'm bringing it this way, and we get about here, and you can just, oh my goodness, I'm falling all into it. And you can just see where we just start. It gets crazy. So welcome to my now mini racetrack backyard. But okay, back to what we were doing. Oh yeah, this bad boy's got rats and everything in it too. Surprise, surprise. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Thank you. There's one guy that likes to talk about the go handle on these. Pretty popular on YouTube. I'm sure you know who he is by now. But the go handle comes in handy. Oh, here's the ruts on this side. So we got stuck there. There. I actually had to hook a ratchet strap to that tree right there and to the back of the truck, and I ratcheted it out of those ruts. So that was an awesome workout. Ow. How about I just work smarter, not harder? Oh, it's good enough. All right, so I think we are ready to rock and roll. Battery mounted. Check. Grounds. Check. Fuel pump wire. Ignition wire for the fuse block. Check. Oh, let's double check. Check. Air induction. Check. Computer hooked up. Check. Exhaust. Check. Will we die? Check. So let me get you set up and let's see how it sounds. So did you like that or what? Ran actually really well, given the cam he said it has in it, which is like a stage 4 or something like that, stage 3. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was a big one. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna need to come in here and completely I'm gonna just rehook up the wiring harness. We had a slight transmission fluid leak, but I got that taken care of. We have a fuel leak, but that shouldn't be too simple to fix. It's just a clamp that needs to be tightened. If you noticed all the smoke that came out as it was trying to start, I can almost guarantee those plugs are completely fouled out, because when he first talked to me about the car, he said that it was running stupid rich. So those plugs are probably completely gone, which is why I revved it, because when I revved it, you obviously, well, you might have, I don't know if the angle was low enough for you to see the smoke, but it blew out tons of smoke, which was 100% exhaust, burning off fuel, because it was heavy. And two, I did it because America, of course. But that is it for today. Now that I got it running, everything hooked up, I know everything works. Now I can take everything apart, make it nice and pretty, and do the radiator and do the stuff inside I need to do, and then just finish it up. Hopefully it doesn't take too long, but I much rather prefer doing work on vehicles that are brought to me already LS swapped and run, because doing full-blown LS swaps are very labor intensive, especially here in Texas. But anyways, it'll be tomorrow for me, but obviously not for you. All right, so it is the next day, and I've been out here for quite a few hours now, making things pretty, and bam. So as you can tell from yesterday, we don't have a lot of mess. It looks like a lot of mess, but it's a lot of neater mess now. I got the harness tucked, hidden, run it behind under the fuel rail like I said. I didn't do much to this side. I just kind of got some wires out of the way. Still got like 2 or 3 more wires on this side to just snip, because they don't go to anything or aren't going to be used. Ran these wires under there just like the other side. Clean it up. Obviously it looks way better than it did yesterday. I set the radiator in there. I'm still doing more over there. I'm just obviously updating on where I'm at. So 2 things I didn't mention that I got to do, or that I needed to do that I did today, was mechanical water temp sensor. I had to get a little creative with it, and so it's got 2 fittings to the mechanical adapter, or the sender, and then I also did the oil pressure. I hooked up the mechanical oil pressure gauge. So he's going to get the VP Bluetooth scanner for gauges like I mentioned yesterday. So technically he didn't really need that water temp gauge, but it's a good secondary. So when you run the water temp gauge, mechanical temp gauge, to the back of the passenger side head, that will read about 10, it's somewhere between 10 to 20 degrees warmer than, or is it cooler? One of the two. It's off by like 10 or 20 degrees compared to the factory spot right here. So I have it in my CUDA. I have a mechanical one in my CUDA, and I rarely ever look at it. I'll have to look at it tomorrow when I'm driving and see if it's lower or higher. I believe it's, I don't know, not even gonna lie. I did the throttle body screw, so you can see it's sitting way higher now, so it should idle on its own. I'm gonna have to adjust this throttle cable, because it's super loose. You want that good and tight so you get full opening. What else have I done? That's really it. That wiring took a decent amount. I mounted the computer and the fuse block on the firewall. The air intake's gonna come right back over here and get all that nice fresh air that Mother Nature is gonna be throwing up in there through its custom hole it made for it over the years. But I think I'm just gonna set the radiator in there for today and be done. Here's a bunch of the stuff I snipped and got rid of. There was a little bit more, but I threw that away earlier, so it wasn't all the wires. But oh, I also got the factory why did I go blank? Alternator wire. So this would have hooked up to the factory alternator, and I ran it back there and under there with the wires and got it hooked up. So that'll read on the dash. So we are getting there, getting close to being done in here. All I gotta do is make it a little bit more prettier. I'm gonna wash it and stuff after I got everything where I want it and all my wires hooked up where I want it, and then I'm gonna clean it up in here, just hit it with the pressure washer, make it a little bit prettier, and then I'll be done in here. But I'll be back at it tomorrow. See y'all in a second. All right, so I'm back, but hopefully you're still there. It's been about 5 or 6 days I've been working on it without recording, because all it is labor that you don't care too much to see, just tedious stuff really. But let me show you where we're at. So I fixed throttle cable, water temp sensor, oil pressure sensor, made the harness all pretty. I'm not completely done. I don't even know where I left off 6-7 days ago when I last recorded, so I'm probably going over something I already said. But I know y'all didn't see, I added those spark plug wires. I gave him those. I mean, he just gave me those headers, so I gave him some spark plug wires. I changed the plugs, the wires. The throttle cable was backwards. I fixed that. Oil pressure sensor, water temp sensor. And I just finished up, or didn't just finish up. I got the radiator installed. I got the lower flexi hose installed. Doesn't leak. I had to mess with that for a couple hours. Coolant is in. The air intake is, I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to route that. So this is the typical LS swap universal intake kit. It's actually for your 2000s model SUVs and trucks that have an LS engine. This little curve right here is supposed to go on this side, and it's supposed to curve over the SUV truck radiator hose. Well, for some reason this one doesn't quite do that to where it'll sit low enough under the hood. The only way to do it, you gotta force it down, and then it just pinches the upper radiator hose. So can't do that. So I'm thinking I'm just gonna route it like this, but maybe turn it down farther, and then just cut. Where would I cut it? I'm trying to think, because obviously we've gone over Mother Nature's natural air intake right here, and we'd like the air filter to be right there, or at least in this vicinity. So I still gotta play with that. I just gotta mount it up because I'm gonna show y'all it running. I just finished up doing the electric fans. So got the electric fans. I made the wires all pretty and covered the wires with wire loom I had laying around, and looks much better than it did. Hopefully you looked at that and you're like, dang, that looks better than it did. If not, my feelings are hurt. I'm gonna cry later. An issue I was having last time trying to get it running, it had, well, I found out after the fact, it had no gas really, and then the gas that was in it was old. I mean, it was like green, which was weird to see. But we got 5 gallons of fresh gas in the tank. What else did I do? Oh, I have to admit, we had more no spark issues. And would you believe it was the same exact issue that we had with the Vega? So something weird, not sure if it's just this year model, I'm not sure if they all do it. This is the first Caprice I've ever touched. But the fuse block, the factory fuse block, loses power, the whole fuse block, every single pin in there. I tested them all. They all lose power when the key is turned to start it. So obviously you can't run the computer wire or the fuse block wire that turns on the computer and stuff to the fuse block to turn on the key, because it just loses power and you get no spark. So I had to run it to a switch. I'm not going to tell you where I'm putting the switch. Actually, I'm not sure if I'm going to put it anywhere. I might let the owner decide where he puts it, so nobody really knows where the switch is, because that'll be a theft deterrent type deal now. I got, let me show you the fans real quick. But obviously, it's not facing the same way it was. So I got it running better, idling much better, and moving under its own power. I'm just gonna... So we got the fans going. And you always want to make sure, if you have the fans mounted on this side of the radiator, that they're blowing this way towards the engine, which you would actually call it pulling. So pooler fans, you want them pulling the air and throwing it at the engine and sucking in the fresh air. I used to always mount the radiator on this side and have it push. I legitimately have no idea when I switched over and started doing them that way. This radiator came with them like that, but I used to do them the other way and I never had issues. I don't know when I switched over, but that's how I do them all now, is they pull the air in. Oh, transcooler. We got the transcooler in there. Kind of see it. Let's see if we can get a better look. Not really. It's in there though. You can see it-ish. But we got the transcooler hooked up. Make sure you run your transmission lines to an external transcooler. That's a $40 one off of eBay. Not eBay, Amazon. Probably the same thing. Just get something that's external. Do not run it to the radiator, because whatever temperature your radiator is, the coolant in there, that's just going to be the temp of your transmission fluid. And you want your transmission, that rule of thumb that I've seen over the years, you can Google it, you want your transmission temp to be at least 50 degrees cooler than the engine temp. But obviously there's going to be varying factors in that, blah, blah, blah. But you just don't want your engine, these LS engines from the factory, they run at 210. You don't want your transmission running at 210, especially not your 4L60. That bad boy will go bye-bye quick. But yeah, so we are almost done in the engine bay, or I'm almost done. Unless you want to come help, that'd be great. I just got to clean up some more stuff, make it a little bit prettier around the edges. Obviously I gotta make that a little bit prettier back there, but the harness is tucked and hidden. The customer came by and actually looked at it, and he said as soon as I popped the hood, he could notice a huge difference with the wires not hanging around or hanging out, basically like how that one was. They're all tucked, everything's good to go. But let's start it. Oh, the idles. So I messed up, and that idle screw right there, I turned it way too high, and I started it in this thing, idled at like 3,000 RPMs, and I was kind of worried there, but I screwed it down, and I think I got the idle just about right. Park, yep. If not, we got some room in there. there you go. You can't tell me that doesn't run way better than it did when I first had it running. Starts right up, idles like it's supposed to, has perfect oil pressure, moves under its own power. I got to run a vacuum line from the back of the transmission to somewhere on the intake, probably right here. Probably just pull that off and run the vacuum line to there, because the only spot to get vacuum that's open on these intakes is where the brake booster goes, right here. So the transmission has to have that vacuum for it to run properly. It's a turbo 350, if I never mentioned it, which I'm sure I did, but it's been a minute since I've talked to you guys. So yeah, I'm almost done in here. When I'm done in here, we get to the interior. I ran all the extra wires from the harness in here. I got to hook up the tack wire, which is this wire. Yeah, no, maybe so. Yeah, it is. Hook up this tack. Oh. Anyways, appreciate that. Hook up the tack wire. Hook up tack wire. The check engine light wire. And then I got to make this all pretty. Figure out how I'm gonna do that. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna have to get creative with that. He wants to get rid of the radio, and he wants the gauges to sit. He doesn't want them to sit back in there like that. He wants them to sit like flush or something. So we'll just see. Maybe I'll get some metal, probably. Maybe just get some galvanized metal and just do a big square, and then mount these individually in 3 holes and paint that metal black. I don't know. That's an idea. We'll see. I want to finish up the engine bay first. So yeah, I will see y'all in a split second, but quite a few more days for me at least. Welcome back for myself, because hopefully you're still here. It's been about 2 days now, but I just finished. I got an elbow from Amazon, a 90-degree elbow, which brought it out farther this way so that I could run it this way, and then this way, and then this way, and then this way. So, and then I got this from O'Reilly's, this filter. I use this filter on nearly every swap I do. So we got that ran. We got radiator full, and I believe I got the air pockets out of the system. So a big thing when you do a swap and you use this upper SUV truck radiator hose, you're always going to have air in your cooling system, just with the way gravity and physics and Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein and all of them bad boys say things like this work. There's a lot of people that'll tell you online to fill it up through the top hose. So top hose up, fill that way. I've had good luck with just filling it up, leaving the cap off and watching it, running it. I have a video on my channel, but we'll go over it again. And then I'll sit here and I'll keep the throttle open, giving it like 1,500, 2,000 RPMs, and you'll see the bubbles. You'll just see them constantly go, 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 go. And they should be relatively big bubbles. And then depending on just how the system is working, I've had it to where it has all the bubbling, and then it just downs all the coolant. The coolant literally just disappears into the engine. And that's obviously your bubbles, your air pockets being filled and going away. This one, it was a little different. I had a bunch of air bubbles, and it never did that. But I noticed the next day when I came out, the coolant was way low, and it kept doing that for the past couple days. So possibly I got the bubbles out, but I'm not 100% sure yet. I'll mess with that here next couple days. It's not going to be gone for a little bit. I put a 160 thermostat in it. Another good thing for just common knowledge for LS stuff. Some of these water pumps, they come where the thermostat is built into the housing, and some of them come where it's separate. This one, it was built into the housing. So you basically, auto parts store, and you say, I need a thermostat housing for whatever, and it automatically comes up with the thermostat housing with the thermostat built into it. Got that just tucked away over there. What else did I do in here? Just cleaned up. Oh, I completely changed the fan harness wiring. So I had it running to that little power block over there, and then running through the firewall with wires that were already there. And I had it on that little switch. Well, after the video, I had it running some more, and I noticed the fans turned off. I was like, oh, that's weird. I wonder if a connection's loose. I went in there and I messed with the switch, and that switch was burning up. Basically, not big enough wire running from that power block to that switch, and it was burning that wire up with so much resistance. It's best to run a minimum of 12 gauge wire for electrical stuff like this, fuel pumps also. And so I just got rid of that, which you can obviously tell because all of it's gone, all that wiring that was right there. And then I just ran it this way, and I ran it it's got a fusible link right there, and then I just ran it into the under the dash. I got the battery tray in. I just need to get the little handles that hold it down. What else? I think this is going to be the biggest change is when I open this door. Bam, look at that. Cleaned it all up. No more big old hunk of junk wiring mess. And no, it's not all just stuffed under there with zip ties and whatnot. It might be, but it's not. We'll just go with it. And then, so I did kind of just the block off plate, I guess you would say, and then just mounted the gauges to this. This is just a galvanized metal that I just cut and shaped it and did what I needed to and screwed it into the original holes that were there, and it fits well. Even got a little custom with it and made a little hole for that spot. And then we got the check engine light, and I just went ahead and put the switch right there. Obviously, the check engine light works because every swap is going to have codes. Sometimes even when you don't have this hooked up, you'll constantly have a code because this isn't hooked up. But yeah, and this switch is actually mine. He's obviously going with the whole race car feel, and this was just an extra switch from the switch panel out of my Cuda. So I figured I'd throw it in here for him and give it more of that race car feel. What else? And then I obviously gave it a nice vacuum because then I wasn't about to give it back to him all nasty and whatnot. I was going to finish this video with a test drive because he told me that since the engine and transmission have been put into this car, it hasn't moved under its own power. And it did for the first time the other day when I turned it around in the driveway, and I realized it was like 6 quarts low on transmission fluid. But I'm having an issue with getting the fuel cell open. I got it open once, perfectly fine, and I closed it like any person would do, and now I can't get it back open. So it says open. but it is 100% stuck. So, and I'm pretty sure we're already low on gas again. I only put 5 gallons in it, and when I put it in there, it was practically empty. So, no test drive, at least for this video. But I can, however, give you, oh, I just want to show you this side. It's just so much cleaner. But anyways, I can, however, give you one last startup before we go. Oh, and so the other things I did, I had the fuel pump and the fuse block wire, or the fuse block power wire for the swap harness. I had it all running to this switch, obviously earlier in this video, and then I was like, wait, that harness comes with the fuel pump wire. So why not just put the fuel pump wire to the harness fuel pump wire? So I did that, and which is also good because if you listen, it cuts the fuel pump off. So it's just not, it's once it sees that it has 58 PSI, I assume that, okay, backtrack. I'm starting to sound like I know it all. I assume that when the computer reads that it has 58 PSI fuel pressure, it cuts it off until you start it, and then it keeps going, as to where before it was just constantly running. So that might fix the running rich issue that it was having. So I ran that fuel pump wire to the harness fuel pump and then I had the fan running to this switch also. And I was like, wait, what? The fuse block loses power when you turn the key, but that's it. That's not going to hurt the fans at all. So I snipped it off of there again, another wire off there again, which was a fan wire, and I put it to the fuse block. So now the fuse block comes on. You probably can't hear it, but fuse block comes on when the key's on and turns off when the key's off. So now I only have the ignition wire for the computer harness, or the computer and the harness on this switch. So yeah, if you got all that, I apologize. It's hotter than a hoochie coochie here in Texas, and I'm sweating my butt. My neighbors probably don't like me, but oh man, that rev gonna hurt the old eardrum. Oh, woo-wee. But there you go. This video is complete. So if you like what I do here, contact me. But anyways, I appreciate y'all watching. Like, subscribe, do all those social media things that you're supposed to do on YouTube. Hope it wasn't too bad of a video. Appreciate you watching if you made it this far. I have no idea what's coming next, so I guess I'll just see you then.